Joining us right now from somewhere around the world, Mike from around the world.
Pastor Paul, God bless you, brother.
God bless you so much, Mike. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
All right. It's been a lot of stuff goes on in 7 days, Mike.
Yep. Yeah, it sure has.
Mike, what is of all the stuff that's happening right now, what's the most pressing thing you're looking at right now?
Well, as of late, Pastor Paul, I've been locked into, I don't know, for the last 2 weeks, I've been kind of stuck in one area, and that's the nuclear area.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be. It's the most dangerous one of everything that's happening. And your thoughts on the fact, Putin gave the nation, he spoke to the nation, and he's not playing around. He pulled out the hypersonic missile and used that. But why President Biden, why in the world did he authorize these long-range missiles? And not only the United States, UK did it too. When Trump is getting ready to go in and Trump's saying that he can bring peace, why would you jump the gun and do that? Your thoughts?
Two things. Okay, this all goes back to the 90s and NATO enlargement. It's called NATO enlargement. They were trying this. So let me give a brief history. That was with 1990 Gorbachev. He ended the Cold War, making peace, of course, but he approved the reunification of Germany. Right.
Yes.
Russia had legal power to help up to approve or block that reunification, and so they got together, the allied countries, which are the Western allies. They got together and said that they promised never to take advantage of Germany through reunification. Right. Through that deal.
Yeah.
So the U.S. promised not to move eastward. Basically, NATO promised not to move eastward, and it was honored by who's the guy's Hans Dietrich, the German foreign minister at the time.
Yeah.
So when it came to December 1991, Russia becomes that succession state or a continuation state. But in 1994, when Cheney and Wolfowitz, they started to strengthen NATO.
Yep.
Make it bigger and larger again, and they had a plan. They wanted to surround Russia in the Black Sea, which was, he'd lost his mind, right? And so that would have been Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia. They would have all become NATO countries, right? They would have surrounded Russia's Navy fleet, which was in Crimea at the time. But this plan has been going forward all this time. This is what they want to do. Putin caught on to it and said no. And so he took Crimea. Crimea was their objective, to surround Crimea.
Yep.
But that was the objective. Had they done that, they could have just forced Putin to become part of the Western alliance anyway, right?
Because he would have been completely surrounded, and they were trying to landlock him almost.
There you go. That's what they were trying to do. So it was a plan of insanity. It didn't work. So he took Crimea. Then he took the Ukraine. Of course, Zelensky, this guy, they put him in there. That was part of them setting up a government. I hate to say that. I hate to say that for all the people that believe the propaganda. But this has been a war between the USA and Russia, and part of the enlargement of NATO, right? So they're still trying to do that. Yeah. They're still trying to do that. The only problem is Russia has caught on to their plan. They said no. He caused some resistance, and we tried. That's why they keep the Ukraine in the news. They keep it in the news so no one suspects that it's the USA and Russia. So what we've been having is this: Ukraine doesn't make a move without America's might.
Right.
They haven't made a move without America's money. Everybody should have found out that we were paying for everything over there, right? So it was set up quite well, and the propaganda machine kept going forward. And so, but it's all folding. President Trump said he can end that in one day because he'll stop that agenda, which has been going forward for 30 years. So we get to this point now, they're still trying. They're still trying to establish that broadened alliance or the enlargement of NATO, and it's not working. And so Putin, they underrated what happened with him, because, that missile, everybody supposedly saw there were two, not one. There were two.
Two.
One, passport one was the one you saw that came over the city, and out of the clouds, these little tiny things came through the clouds, right?
What was they? Like little missiles, or what was that?
No. Those were MIRVs. Those were MIRVs. A MIRV is a multiple independently targeted reentry vehicle. Those were MIRVs. And you know what? Just yesterday, I was talking to everybody about. I just kind of confessed I can't shake this feeling about this nuclear issue that we're about to face. And here he does that. So those are MIRVs. That's as part of a ICBM. That's RS-24, right?
Okay.
RS-24.
Are you saying that the hypersonic missile had a bunch of little MIRVs on it?
No. Let me explain. The ICBM is a RS-24. It's an intercontinental ballistic missile, the big boy, right? It has a range of 6,800 miles. All right, so it can hit anywhere. Those little tiny vehicles were in the warhead. It has three stages, two solid fuel, one liquid fuel. And when it launches, what's called those little MIRVs, they sit inside of a bus stage, or that's a reentry bus that carries those small MIRVs. They travel at Mach 25.
They're fast. I know. I've seen the video.
Eight of them are in a warhead. Each one has a yield of over 50 kilotons. So think about something. He launched. This was denuclearized, but it was an ICBM. It was a real ICBM. It's the first time in history anybody has ever launched an ICBM of that classification at anybody. That's the first time in history.
Ever.
He's not playing games.
No, he's not.
This was, and see, they shut down the embassy a few days ago. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
They shut down the embassy. They were expecting a missile barrage or something, right?
Yes.
So they knew intelligence had picked up that liquid fuel was being transported to this thing, but they didn't know it was going to that thing. He's not playing games. That's a warning shot across the bow. Something else happened too.
What's that?
There were some missiles that overwhelmed U.S. defenses. Now, of course, the USA is they're disputing. They're disputing.
They're not even talking about
everything. All right, that you can show them video. You can pull the nomenclature off the missile. They'll say, no, that's outrageous. But we're in a situation. That was the first time an ICBM has ever been launched, right?
Yeah.
In this type of situation, and anybody, certainly that type, right?
Yes.
That was an RS-24.
Yes.
YAR.
I knew
that was from the old YAR.
I knew this. What did he use this intercontinental ballistic missile that was this hypersonic power and all that? But when I saw the video of these, I mean, these things were coming down.
Yep.
They were. And I thought, well, what is that? That's more than one. Yep. I didn't know they were coming. The MIRVs were part of this whole thing. So he's breaking out technology that's never been used in the history of the world.
That scared everybody.
Well, but
listen to me. That scared everybody.
But does Joe Biden realize that he caused that?
Oh yes, but they're not going to listen. They're not going to share. They're not going to talk about movements. They're not going to talk about tactics or anything publicly. They can't do that. That scared everybody. That scared everybody.
Are they going to back off now?
Because this is not. It's not a game.
No,
right?
It's not
a game. Unfortunately, right? It is. You have the UK, you have England. They keep coming over here saying, hey, fight Russia directly. See, what I guess what a lot of people don't understand is you have these allied countries, part of the Western Alliance. They're coming in wanting the USA to attack Russia directly.
Right.
They want World War III.
Which is crazy.
They want it. And they're pushing for it. So we have a situation right now, and it's unfortunate because we have a real situation now. Nobody knows what's going to become of it.
Well, let me ask you this question. Okay, so we know that Trump is going to be in office hopefully in 60 days. Putin's got to know. I know that Trump talks to Putin and Zelensky and everybody as he's coming in. I'm hoping that he's saying to Putin, calm down, chill down. We're going to readjust this whole thing. But I mean, Putin probably can't trust anybody at this point. I mean, he has
Well,
watched for 30 years. You're saying he has watched NATO break its word for 30 years.
There you go.
And try to surround him. He's saying, I got to stop it.
There you go. There you go. And even if Joe Biden said that we're not going to do anything, you still have the other NATO countries, which are doing something.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing something. They have nuclear powers too. They're doing something. And so it's not just the USA. He's facing all these other countries.
Right.
These countries overseas next to him, they want him gone. They want him obliterated.
Right.
They want him gone. And so it's a bad situation. Even if Biden closed up the administration, things are still going to happen. With or without the USA, things are going to happen.
NATO is already, the ball's
That's
already
right.
going, the train's going down the track over in NATO.
They've spun up everything, and here we are.
What do you think?
So this is
what do you think Trump's then foreign policy plan going to be to deal with this? He's got to deal with NATO, and
oh, he will. I think that it takes a bold person to really face down these people. You can't be afraid, right? You have to be able to call somebody's bluff. In most cases, when you have diplomacy with these other nations, they always have some counter threat to any type of diplomacy they don't like. Germany has a counter threat. They may, stop this or stop that. It hurts the American people, this, that, and the other. What Trump said, I don't care what you do. This is what I'm going to do.
Right.
Right. So he's very different because he does not speak the language of he doesn't use those polite, I'm scared tactic type things. They're almost like a bunch of rich people. I mean, uber rich people who've never even cracked a fingernail. Right.
Right.
So they're not, they have undermining tactics in their diplomacy. Trump doesn't care.
No, he don't.
He can spot them, right?
He's America first.
He told them,
and
that's right. That's right.
America first.
He saw where they were. He saw what they can't live without, and he took that and he said, "Well, I know what you can't live without. If you don't comply, you're not going to get it. Period." Right now, these other presidents are trying to. They're. You got to remember, they have softened to corporations. They have softened to certain promises of other nations down the road, right? So they have all these a network that nobody knows about that they have to take care of. So they can't do everything Trump does. Trump does not care. He doesn't care. He didn't care. So they can't do. They already know they can't do anything with him.
Right.
They already know that. They have no threat. Well, were they going to put him in jail? They already tried that. So that's just not going to work. And plus, the people have become a shield to him.
Yep.
And they already know this. But my concern is this. This situation is not going to wait for Trump. It's all in God's hands. But without our Father, we'd be doomed. We're just going to be doomed. So I don't know what the ongoing decision is, but I do know something that we're gonna have to deal with some situations.
So you think
we're just not comfortable with?
You're not positive in these 60 days that we won't be in World War III.
No, I'm not. No,
before
I'm not
Trump even puts his hand on George Washington's
I would say, honestly, that there are a lot of people who already know. They kind of know we're in World War III already. They won't say that.
Wow.
It's not officially recognized,
right?
But the world is at war, right? You wouldn't believe, and not a lot of people. You would think that missile came from Russia. No, but I can't go any further.
What missile?
I can't go any further than that.
You the one the
ICBM.
Well, it was. Oh, you're saying it didn't come from Russia? Did it come from a submarine out in the ocean?
I can't say any more than that. But I'll tell you this: command and control is interchangeable between China, Iran, and Russia.
And the North Koreans, don't forget them, right?
Yeah, but that means an ICBM can be launched from any one of those countries, and somebody else can actually, drop coordinates in there and do what they have to do. It's very difficult to define where things come from like that.
So when you say Russia fired this thing, Russia could have made the command, but it could be coming out of China. It could be coming out of Iran or somewhere in the Middle East.
Right. There you go. That's right. That's right.
You don't know where to look.
That's right. That's right. And that is the most dangerous nuclear war. That was a nuclear warhead.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
it wasn't just some missile. That was an intercontinental ballistic missile, the big bore, 3
Yep.
stages. That was huge. And yeah, so that's a continent destroyer. And that was full of denuclearized dummy rounds, basically.
Right.
Those warheads that came down, those were decoys. Clearly they were decoys.
Right.
But it's just alarming to see that anybody would ever do that in the first place.
Let me ask you, Mike. You would know the damage. What if those were actual nukes? What if that was he did it? What would it have done in Ukraine?
Well, I think one warhead, if he would have launched that for real.
Yep.
When the bus was coming down, when the re-entry bus was coming down, it would have deployed high in the atmosphere. One warhead would have hit its target in the Ukraine, and everything around it would have been gone. Okay, that's a super high yield warhead. The other 7 warheads would have gone to their targets, traveling at Mach 25, of which there is no air defense that can stop that.
No.
None. And that wasn't all. Putin also overwhelmed U.S. Air defenses.
Yes, we couldn't stop it. We couldn't stop them.
But that wasn't the ICBM. This was something else he did simultaneously with the ICBM, and it overwhelmed U.S. air defense systems. So he sent a message that you may have your people believing propaganda, but we're not buying your propaganda. This is for real. If he's pushed into a corner, right? I'm telling you right now, he will not play the language that's being used with Putin and his people. It's not some joking language. He's not playing around. He's just not. He is ready to act. He's ready to act, and so I hope that people go forward responsibly. And America certainly does not need another enemy like that. We already have enemies in the camp that can do great damage to this country.
The enemy within?
Yes. We have to, the truth is, Pascal, we have too many nuclear sites. Yes, we were irresponsible in making them. We have too many positioned throughout the USA that can cause real damage. In fact, I recommended to people to watch Chernobyl. I did, so they can have a general understanding of what we do have, right? We not only nuclear facilities, but we have nuclear waste mountains. And if an earthquake could hit, a lightning strike could happen. Somebody could, some person could ram a truck in there, right? We don't exactly vet everybody the right way, and truck drivers are dropping things onto that mountain all the time. Right? You start releasing that stuff, and those uranium rods, those depleted uranium rods, they are quite dangerous. They're not going to die for 25,000 years or something like that.
They're highly active. They're never going to go away. I mean, you can't get rid of it, really. I mean,
if there's no shielding, they will kill a person within about 30 minutes. And it'll be the most awful experience a person ever had if they're not shielded within a 3,500-mile radius. Everybody is going to get sick and die within months. So months to a year.
So wormwood in the Bible, in Revelation, of course, Chernobyl means wormwood, but I mean the wormwood event in the Bible, which kills a lot of people. So we are capable of doing and
multiple
times Chernobyls. Over, don't we?
Multiple. The bad part is we have the potential to kill ourselves right here in America, and we're not very responsible as far as upkeep. I hear people complain all the time about the generators at these plants that power the pumps, right? Some of the infrastructure is just not what it should be, and that's not exactly a type of thing you want to drop the ball on. No. Because once certain things, and we don't know everything about the reactions. We do not. That's just not good.
All right, Mike, I asked people before the show tonight to come over to my Patreon channel, and if you wanted to leave a question for you, they could. I received 63 questions 2 hours before the show started. I stopped. I just said I can't write. So I have 15, actually 16. I don't know if we can get them all in, but I'm going to ask you a few. This one, let's start with the Deagle report. This is question number 15. Ask Mike, could you ask Mike about the Deagle report that says that 90 million people in America will die in the year 2025? Does he have any understanding of the Deagle report?
Yeah, well, part of that is due to that's a bio breakout, and the other part's nuclear, I would say. An extensive part of that could be civil defense problems.
Really?
Which is what they're gearing up towards, yes. Believe it or not, in a civil war, because of the ammunition, it would be a bloodbath, right? Here's the deal: in a civil war, think about something. The average person, we have a lot of vets here in America.
Yeah.
But the average person is going to be overly zealous. For example, if a person walks up to your house in the middle of the night, and we're in the middle of a civil war, that person will likely not survive, because people are going to think the worst. They do that right now about everything. They're always jumping the gun. They won't give anybody the benefit of the doubt. And people are slowly losing their humanity. But imagine a person who's coming up in the middle of the night. They don't speak. Maybe they're too tired or something like that. They get shot. But in truth, they were looking for a can of food.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of situations like that. So the innocent folks that will die just like that will be numerous. Then you have this lack of contact that people will have. They don't exactly make themselves clear.
No.
So with these militias and everything else that have been formed, these guys have a lot of firepower. And you put that in you get the wrong person attempting to lead these groups. You can have professionals all day. It's really going to boil down to a person's ability to control him or herself, to have discipline. And that's going to be the missing element in a lot of these people, is discipline. They just won't have the discipline. They're going to be nervous. It's a very confusing situation. So that could really cause us some problems. There's no other time in history where America has been armed like today. That's the problem, right? If a civil war breaks out, that wouldn't be good, because people will not communicate the way they should in that type of situation.
So because of all the potential dangerous situations, you can imagine rogue events could take place that would be devastating to large amounts of people. And so that's
that terrorism, right? And we're back to the nuclear issue. One of my greatest concerns is that somebody already has too much knowledge of how things work, and that they're plotting something, waiting on some order. People have to remember, these folks from overseas, when people who are Americans, when they are indoctrinated, they pick up the spirit from these folks overseas who desire to kill themselves. They want to suffer. So that means a person can inject themselves with a deadly pathogen, right? See, about 10 of them do this, right? They would gladly do this. They would gladly do this and come over here in a couple of aircraft, a boat or something like that. And that's right. And then there are pathogens out there that if you get in contact with a person, that person only has 24 hours. And we're not talking about hemorrhagic fever either. We're talking about things much, much worse. So there are things like that can happen. You have folks who have a lot of money. They're executives, yet they have strong international interests. They could easily compromise one of these facilities, one of these dormant facilities, and that will be the end of it all. And if one plant ignites, right? What do you think the expectations are on? Let me give you one scenario. There's a line of nuclear facilities that goes from Texas all the way up to the Great Lakes, right? So if one of those goes, we also have oil pipelines and gas lines going in the same direction. If one goes, it will ignite the gas and the oil. Now the oil, they have those outlet vents. All of those will ignite, right? You're talking about 2,800 degrees. That's how hot that the nuclear material will get. You're talking about fission, not a fire. That will ignite everything. And in that case, that's the end of us. That will be the end of the entirety of the center of America, and everybody else, good luck. But then that would also ignite other facilities. That would be okay with just one nuclear facility, We don't have just one.
We got a
have
lot.
Lots. We have a whole lot. We have too many. And I don't know what they were thinking about making too many in the first place, but we're the generation that has to deal with the consequences of those things. And we can't exactly trust everybody in America, right? They're here. I can tell you right now, some are waiting on President Trump to get in office, and some are not waiting.
Let me ask you this. You've talked a lot about a water event that could take place and that eventually is going to take place.
Oh, it will, yeah.
One person asked a question, and that was, could an East Coast water event happen due to war, like a submarine, some detonation by Russia? Can that create a tsunami?
Sure can. We have an Atlantic anomaly. We have a crack in the Atlantic. We have issues in the Atlantic, right? We also have a lot of nuclear power under the water in the Atlantic. So imagine if a nuclear sub was taken down or something like that, and it didn't exactly explode topside, but bottom side. We already have a fragile floor in the Atlantic. Is cracking all over the place. We have magma breaches, Nicholas coming up from the floor. So that would just, increase that. They already know that if any force gets to a specific depth, it's going to cause a type of cavity wave, concussion cavity wave, that will collapse the East Coast of America. The East Coast of America is full of honeycombs, right? The honeycombs are full of water in a lot of cases. Army Corps of Engineers normally checks on these honeycombs. If they ever start giving way, well, that's it for the East Coast. If we start having land collapses, that's unstoppable. In a wave of untold magnitude, right? Will likely go out to the Atlantic and come right back. And then, there we go.
Be a domino effect.
It would.
All right, Mike. One question we have tonight from one of our viewers was, could December 14th event prevent Trump from going into office? Or could Biden resign and Harris take over? But the question is, December 14th, is this an event that could prevent Trump from going into office?
December 14th, that's a spiritual date.
Okay.
It's a spiritual date, Pastor Paul. And that date is I've named that the hour of Babylon.
Yes, you have, which is in the Bible, which is the 1 hour in Revelation 18.
So I would say that's a one of those dates where we could be entertaining some things we don't want to. Of course, Babylon at the end, she has her moment. In the scale of time, we don't know how long an hour actually is, but it's upon me that Babylon, that name, will take center stage. We'll begin to take center stage then. So I've named that
so it's a spiritual thing.
Babylon's hour. Yeah. It's the beginning of Babylon's hour.
All right. Yeah. We'll keep our eyes open on that. And we have to look more in a spiritual realm of things that could happen that hour. So we will watch that. Here's a question for you, Mike. And it's what will happen to Benjamin Netanyahu now that the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for him and Gallant and the whole the European Union, France, and other nations said they will, Ireland will also arrest him if he comes there.
Well, take note that he's had an arrest warrant before.
Right.
He's dealt with that. He's in Israel, and America's still an ally. They're not going to do anything where America's involved. And where he has a critical role in the Middle East, they won't do a thing, and they already know it. A lot of that is posturing.
Okay.
A lot of it is. But on the sober side of this, he's hunted every single day by the entirety of the Middle East. He's the reason, in Turkey's view, that the Middle East is turning against Israel. So that gives Israel no more than a month before everybody is against her. Everybody. Right, they're going to openly be against her
because of Trump coming in and his regime.
Because of Trump and Netanyahu right? They already know the relationship. They
Oh,
already
yeah, they're
know that
close.
Israel is going to be bolstered by this. And so in the eyes of the Middle East, this is their language. If we don't do something now, we'll never get a chance. And the Allah, they say, is, he has a mandate that they do what they have to do now in their faith. And they're getting together on this. America must be taken out at the same time Israel is taken out.
Yep.
Okay. So we all know how satanic forces work. That is satanic forces at its best. But it's still in God's timing. They're going to try. We know at some point we're going to have some. I do believe that Trump was selected to bring us through a difficult time. I do believe that.
I do
believe that. He has a lot to clean up. He has been trained. I remember when he first went to, when they were trying to get him, and this was a weekly thing with us. I could not shake it from my spirit that he was being tried. He was being, it's like an exercise. He was being stretched on every single side to be qualified, because the next phase that we go through is going to require somebody just like him to get us through. It's that we can't do it with a weak person. We have to do it with, it's going to take a stubborn person. And just as God has used many people for many different things, I'm certainly not picky on who he uses. You can kind of see what he's doing. He's getting a person of strength, right?
Yep.
Of strength and resolve. People may not agree with his character. People may not agree with his tactics or anything else. But one thing they can never say, that he is not very stern in his direction he goes. Wherever he goes, he announces it, goes there, he gets whatever done he has to get done, and there's the deal.
Yeah.
God has used King Nebuchadnezzar in the Old Testament for all those who just simply want to believe that Trump is just this, terrible individual. Well, check this out. God used King Nebuchadnezzar to save Jerusalem.
Yep.
In the book of Jeremiah, he said, he told them, I exiled you to save you, to keep you alive, not to kill you. That was my grace on you. And so the dodo priests that stayed in Jerusalem, they all died because they were disobedient.
Yep. God
said, go to King Nebuchadnezzar. I've given him authority over everything so that you guys can be saved.
Yep.
So nobody can, it's probably not a good idea to question what the Lord is doing. Nobody can stop it anyway. And if we eventually see it, Satan does not have free reign in the earth. He can only do what God has given him a leash to do. Right.
And King Cyrus is another one
that's right.
When they came to him and said, hey, look, Daniel, I think, look, Jeremiah prophesied we'd be here 70 years.
That's right.
And then we'd get to go home. And he said, then I'm going to send you home. Okay, then good. And matter of fact, I'm going to send you with some gold and silver and food and mason workers and carpenters and go rebuild Jerusalem. King Cyrus wasn't a believer. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
But he got the job done. He got it done. So God will often call some outsider. He'll do it, right? Somebody who's not taken by normal things. And it does not mean they're absolutely condemned either. That's not what it means. No. Because all of us were not squeaky clean when we first began. We just were not. And so somebody told me too, they said, well, so you're saying God uses corrupted people, and how can they get away with that? I said, nobody gets away with anything. But Trump is changing. He is not the same person he was in 2006. Because I told you before, and when Trump first got in office, I didn't like Trump.
You didn't like him. I know that.
I did not like him because I just didn't like him. But then I saw his work ethic.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute, this guy's going to change. He's going to change. Because he considers people. No matter what he's done, no matter what he does, he considers the stance of another. Yeah. So people have, at the end of the day, people are going to, they're going to have their own mind about things, but God does not make mistakes.
Nope.
He does. He knows exactly what he's doing. And plus, his name is Trump. How in the world, when it was Trump Pence and people stopped talking about it, I said, how can people just ignore that? How can they ignore that?
The last
you
Trump.
Don't get. You do not get. There's just that. Come on. The most powerful nation in the world, and we get a president whose last name is Trump.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Are you serious?
And he's back. he's back again in this predicament that we're in.
And such a time, and isn't it a good thing that
that's right.
The 4 years in between, if he'd have done that, he wouldn't have been in a position for this. Plus, God was doing the work on him.
He would have been compromised.
Oh,
you cannot go 2 terms as a president. And have you noticed that the second term?
Let me ask you this.
The second term, all presidents.
Yes.
All presidents. They change at the second term. Every single last one. They go through a phase where it's almost like they're hypnotized, and they get a phone call, and they can be stopped. They can be talking to somebody. They get a phone call. They're stopped they're like robots or something, but they're not robots. And then they will change in a drop of a dime. They become very different when you do that dual term. And he didn't go through that.
Let me ask you this question, Mike, because you've brought this up before in the past. You said when a president, that second term in a row, he's going to have to face the music. Okay, he's going to face the devil.
King of the world,
right?
King of the world.
But Trump's doing two different. What do you think this means? Is he being spared this encounter? Is God using him?
They're not consecutive.
They're not consecutive.
They're not consecutive, and so that a lot of people were saying, well, if he wins this election, he's going to have to meet the King of the world. I kept saying, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do it.
I don't think so.
And he didn't. He didn't. Now, to a lot of us who understand that is a miracle within itself.
Yes, it is.
For him to come back, having skipped all that, that's a miracle within itself.
Miracle.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle within itself.
Well, it shows me that God is directing right. Look, God is in control. When are we going to finally agree? When are we going to quit questioning God, right? He's in control. And so we shouldn't be so we ball ourselves up in a ball of confusion of our own fear, and we don't give God enough credit. God trusts us a whole lot more than we trust him. And it's really the other way around. I mean,
he does. He did, because he really has. Listen, in my life, he has to have faith in me because I still believe in him. Right? So he believes in something in me. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is, but he's.
And listen, we're all of us. Every single last human being on this planet, they have a bias. There's somebody they like more than the other. There's a team like more than the other. Right? People have to start looking beyond the natural human factors that we have to start seeing who the person is before them. Right? Because a lot of people believe, and it'd be like if I knew somebody just by somebody else's word. I don't know that person. Right. I never rate somebody off somebody else's word. I can never do that, because that's that's not knowing the person in front of me. And I know that no one, so long as the person lives, they will never stay the same.
Amen.
They're alive by God's hand only. They're not alive by Satan's hand. They're alive by God's hand. So they're serving some purpose.
All right, Mike, here's another question for you here.
Yes, sir.
You've talked some about the northward movement of the equator. How far have you got any update for us? How far is it? We're tilting,
We're shuffling in this summer, Pastor Paul, as this summer rolls around. This winter is going to be really heavy for some people. But I was looking at some of the trending with the weather and some of the atmospheric issues that we're facing in our placement as far as we go around this galactic center. And I'm gathering information on some anomalies that nobody is sure about these anomalies. We know that there is a nasty portion of the galaxy we've got to go through. We already know that. We know that there's an influence upon the solar system right now, which is altering everything. Right? It's altering our axis. It's altering everything. See, because they're starting to find out that the axis of the sun, they're starting to compute the axis of the sun. They have some external instruments out there, and they're really not prepared to share the data. They don't want to share it right away, which means it's almost like a confirmation that the axes of these planets mathematically are pointing towards something.
Yes.
On a continuous basis.
Yes.
They're pointing in the same direction on a continuous basis. And that something has been altering. It's been altering perfectly, which means it's following a course, which means it's connected to us. right? It's very close to us. This influence is very close to us. So we will begin to encounter this summer, I would say, is one of those opening times where the heavens are just not going to be like they've ever been before. I do not believe the heavens will be silent this summer coming up. I don't believe that. There are some critical reports that will be coming out from some incursions that we'll face anyway, that have nothing to do with our topic. This is something new, so we're going to see some things anyway. I believe that it's going to open up, and people will be able to judge that for themselves. Then they can get down to the nitty gritty. But what that means is our planet is going to go through some rapid changes. That means you just watch this month. This is November, right?
Yes.
Just if we continue to live in this month, watch the drastic changes with the atmosphere and some of these storms. We think we have not seen a storm, but we will see some storms. We're going to see, like I said, what was that a couple months ago? I said in the middle of winter, 80-mile-an-hour winds for a snowstorm, or hurricane force winds for a snowstorm. Do you know lights were going out all over the place yesterday because of the winds?
Yeah.
Right. So in the middle, I'm telling people right now, in the middle of winter, when it's cold, they're going to lose power. Because most of the transformers that are out there were made from cheap materials. They are not utilizing certain metals they used to. They have this new process of binding and things of that nature that they don't even know exactly how robust it is. It's not very robust, and wind is going to damage quite a bit of what of the grid. They have the grid on a network for rapid shutdown everywhere, right?
Wow.
Redirect stations and everything else. So that means if they feel a grid is about to be damaged, they're going to shut it off before the weather does anything, right? People ought to get ready for ice, unusual conditions, rapid changes in temperature. All this is going to cause wear and tear on these transformers and all these topside electrical devices. Right, we're going to have 2 years worth of damage just in 2 months, just in I'd say December and January. Right, so we should get ready. If the hurricanes, that was a prelude to some of the outages that we're about to experience. Of course, in the winter, it's hard to get from one place to another.
Oh, it's really hard.
So I hope that people take heed and they understand the term foreshadowing, because we're getting these warnings, these demonstrations, but are people going to pay attention and say, well, that could happen to me in the middle of winter, and then what? So then people ought to take some sort of precaution.
A precaution, right. Well, let me ask you, Mike, because, again, as you just mentioned, California, Washington, Oregon area, they get hit with what they're calling now. You've talked about atmospheric rivers before, and now they're calling this thing combined with a bomb cyclone. Then they called it a bombogenesis.
Bombogenesis.
Yeah. So, atmospheric compression, you've explained that to us to where we know now that there's pressure pushing the atmosphere down, pushing the jet streams down, creating a whole lot more violent climate environment, right? And something else is out there pulling a gravitational pull, if we can call it whatever we want to, binary system, planet X, whatever you want to say, but something out there is pulling on the entire solar system, right? So
yes, it is.
You're saying the next 2 months we're going to see some incredible weather that's going to create some massive power outages.
Yes, we are.
Snow, sleet,
I hope
wind.
that people are ready. All the above. Okay. All the above.
You heard it.
And that all this is a prelude, Pascal, because we're still going to have the water event. We're going to have that. We're going to have that water event. This Earth is going to be shallow water in a lot of places. Other places are going to be gone. Let me give you an example of something that happened last week.
Okay.
Right now, I can't tell you where, but I will. There was a place where half an island went under.
Half an island just went under.
Just went under. There's a place in America, well, connected to America, and a large portion of it just went under. It just gave way. This is happening everywhere.
Whoa, that sounds like an imploding or a collapsing.
We have tectonic shifting taking place. That's quite silent, right? But it does not stop the upwells of land masses, dirt, soils, and everything. Gases are being released like never before. There was in Mexico, there was a half mile, I guess you could say a dirt berm that came up right in the waters, and bubbles were to the left of it and to the right of it. This berm was, how long was this berm? They say about 800 meters long. Gases are being released all over the place, all over the planet. Gases are, which means we're getting very close to that time where everybody smells sulfur and methane everywhere on planet Earth. And it's really happening a lot in the deserts. Certain places in the deserts, fires are breaching the deserts and the ground. So we have a lot of geological changes taking place. And they're not slowing down. It's just that the news is, well, they don't cover truth anyway.
They sure don't. They're pretty bad. All right, here's a question. I'm going to do two questions at once, tie two together. Matt Gaetz just bowed out today. I've been saying he wasn't going to make it, that maybe he was just a lightning rod to take the pressure off some of the others. I don't know. But Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General in Florida, has been chosen, and she's excellent, so she'll go right through as Attorney General. But she's tough as nails. Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. I don't know what's going to happen there. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's going to take on big pharma and big food. Hegseth will be taking on really a military-industrial complex. And then Tulsi Gabbard in intelligence. My question is, with those people in the cabinet or trying to get into the cabinet for the President Trump, there's also information that said that a Terminator device was sent to a war zone. I don't know what this is about. This is the question. Is there such a thing as a Terminator device sent to a war zone? And is that tied in any way to these people that Trump's trying to put into office? Trump's put people into office to take on big industry.
Yeah, and you know what? I wish he had not. I wish he had not said all that, because we know they have to go through Senate confirmation hearings. Matt Gaetz, for example, they demanded that he disclose, that things be disclosed to the public if he was to go forward, and to drudge up things like that. Well, he said, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And so for the sake of President Trump and his administration, he withdrew himself. He withdrew himself, which is honorable. That's honorable. But people like to drudge up garbage, your past and things like that.
Is Hegseth going to make it?
Pastor, it's again, when they go through that Senate confirmation hearing, they're going to, and I know, they're going to dig up everything they can find and put it before their new thing now is when they find junk and garbage, right, to disclose it to the public. That's the new thing now. It's a new standard now. And so that's why we're President Trump or everybody out there had not made a big deal over, these guys are going to stop this or stop that.
Right. It would have been easier. It would have been easier.
That's declaring war.
Yeah.
Right. That's declaring war on somebody who's sitting there. And that's never a good way to, enter in there.
Yeah.
So there could be some casualties, I guess you could say. There are going to be some name swaps and things of that nature. It's inevitable, because some will not pass Senate confirmation hearings. It's just they're going to have difficulties passing the Senate confirmation hearings.
What about
Tulsi
Robert?
Gabbard? She may have difficulties.
Yeah.
Kennedy is going to have difficulty passing Senate confirmation hearings. So, because all of them have, in everybody's past.
Right.
Sure, there's something we didn't do right. That's how you learn and become wise, right?
That's right.
But they're going to bring it up. They're going to put it before the public
embellish it a little bit while they do that, right?
They do. It's almost like I hate those Senate confirmation hearings sometimes, because that's what Satan does. He's an accuser.
He's the accuser of the brethren.
He brings up this stuff and he says, "Oh, look how bad this person is." Well, you big dum-dum. That's how we're supposed. We're sinners saved by grace. If we didn't do those things, then Christ would not be for us. So any Christian out there is automatically admitting that they were a crud ball before they were a crusader for righteousness.
Yep.
Anyway,
good point.
yeah, it's gonna be a
it's gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna be a big fight, but Trump will get most of the people he wants in, and then the ones that can't get through it, it has to put a substitute in there.
He knows, though. He knows. You better believe he's got people on the back burner, knocking down the door, trying to, they're going to give it their best.
Yeah. All right. We got to talk about some aliens. They brought it out again. Okay. And each time that the Senate does a hearing on aliens, more and more and more stuff comes out. People are wanting to know from you, Mike, and that is this. Will the aliens, here's the question. How will the aliens eventually be introduced peacefully or through a invasion?
It's already happening. Okay. But I challenge people. Don't go hunting for them. I wouldn't advise that. I'll say this. Every Christian who knows biblical history should know exactly what they are. Okay, exactly what they are.
Yeah, we do.
They are of different things, but I wouldn't go hunting or desire them, because wanting to see or understanding these things is just like understanding a demon.
It is.
Yes. In my opinion, these things that normally are faced on the earth, because God has watchers, and sometimes, well, like the USA, they've encountered watchers. They were warned. Moscow was warned. Other countries were warned. These are angelic hosts that come down and they let you know exactly who they are. But for the most part, people by curiosity are seeing things all over the world, right? It's an increase of, what did they say, 1,800% increase in these things. And we're not talking about blurred video either. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're not talking about blurry video. We're not talking about people who saw it from, 22,000 miles away, and no, those days are over. But more and more people are seeing these things. What's happening is people are being given the disclosure directly. These things are utilizing people, and it seems like Congress is keeping pace with what the people are doing. Now, keep in mind, they can see social media. They know what people are talking about. They know what people are having encounters with. And so they're keeping pace. They're keeping relevant. They're not going to come out and give everybody a full disclosure on these things. They're never going to do that. The people, though, will begin to encounter more and more things. So it'll be a type of gradual introduction, because they were given a time limit, you could say. And Grush knows this. They were given a time limit. But the truth about it is so disgusting. Parts of it are so disgusting. No one's going to disclose that officially to the people and say, okay, we're going to give you everything we got, because everything they have is going to be full of controversy, this and the other. I'll give you an example. Well, I already said one thing. Some of these ships that people are seeing, these ships would be biologicals, classified as biologicals. Right?
Yep.
Now, so that's disgusting within itself. Like when they find orcas on top of mountains and big blue whales on top of mountains with other animals. Okay, who's doing that? But they go in and they find out certain organs and things like that are missing. These craft, even the crash craft that they have taken down and done things with, these are biologicals, half and half, 50-50. The entities themselves are comprised of, they're not as clean cut as the movies, right? Some are quite grotesque. But you're looking at something that, an ancient species that knows everything about biology, that can mingle and mix insect, plant, human, and animal all together into one species to serve the purpose of the spirit that will inhabit it. It's the same thing that certain rich families do with their kids. They get their kids ready to be inhabited by a spirit for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
So you're looking at a steady increase, and it will get to the point. It will get to the point where representatives of the people will then go to the government with changed, different. Because if let's just say that our society, there are lots of people in our society that are not like us.
Right.
They're not like us. And they are there to facilitate some of the introductions. This is an act of seduction on a brand new level, and it's working, right? Because people, they'll take a belief, like many believe there's life out there, right? But
Right.
life here on this planet could be something totally different. In my experience, most of them are coming from the oceans. Most of them are coming from, these cavernous places and mountains. Most of them are coming from places like that, and they return to the ocean, and they return to these cavernous places. Most of them are associated with a sulfuric smell. Most of them pop out of volcanoes and look like, they have a certain classification of the ones that are the same heat consistency of magma. Right. So imagine
that's
a being
crazy.
That's just like that. But these will be seen all over the place. What I mean is they'll be seen more and more. They already know this. So if you see something bright and illuminated, that's not some transconfigured being. You start smelling sulfur and a stink that you never thought you'd smell in your life that will cause a goat to vomit. Don't get curious behind that stuff, please.
That sounds like the demons of hell. I mean, that sounds like Apollyon coming out of the bottomless pit with all those.
And you are. Pastor, don't they come out of volcanoes?
Yeah, they do. They come out of volcanoes.
Whenever there's an eruption, people always see activity going in and out of that volcano. We're not talking about lava bombs. We're talking about something that will hover for an hour throughout the whole eruption, and then on occasion around the mountainous areas, if you continue to watch these things, you will start to see anomalies, walking anomalies, standing anomalies, things of that nature. That there have been occasions where videotapes. I know Grush has these tapes where one has walked through a military building and just melted the thing as it walked.
Yeah.
So metal is not going to stop it. It'll incinerate anything near it, right? And they are quite seductive. The other part of that is this. For these folks out there having dreams, I'll say it again. I say this often because the first contact is in the dream. And they will attempt to seduce people in the dream. And people ought to rebuke everything that's not a representative of Christ's word in their dreams.
Amen.
Because I know for a fact, Pastor Paul, this is through in earlier jobs. You wouldn't believe how many people on this earth are intimate with things in their dreams. They know nothing. You wouldn't believe the number of people who are walking around and they are intimate with these things. And they have real physical anomalies to the point where their medical doctors and physicians and things like that are tagged so that their record does not go out from that place. You just wouldn't believe it. So you're looking at folks who just readily invite these things into their lives.
Yeah.
And are very intimate with these things by way of dreams. And it's, it normally kills the person who's doing it. It will strip them of everything they are with a false promise. Because anything that ever comes to anybody and says you're special, that's what you turn away from.
You better get away from it.
Turn away from it. Turn away from it. If anything comes to anybody and says you're special, turn away from it, because they will seduce you by dreams. And before you know it, you'll desire to see one for real. And then you're opening up a gateway within yourself. You're saying it's just like a Ouija board. When you start the desire to communicate with something you cannot see, you have no idea about, a human being has authorization to do that. They can just open up. And allow those things to come in and, occupy or within. But these things will tear a person's life to shreds.
Yeah, don't entertain. Be careful about entertaining angels. You might be the wrong ones. You might entertain them unaware. And people are entertaining demons, demonic spirits.
Exactly. That's the bad part, right?
Yeah.
If I saw one, okay, I know I have a fly swatter from the Holy Spirit, so I'm not really worried about it. I'm not moved by it.
But you're not going to entertain it, are you? You're not going to welcome it in.
No.
But people are. But people are.
They are. They are.
With a lot of occult practices, a lot of different things.
They sure are. And they have turned it into a professional type of thing.
That's crazy.
And they're educating people.
They're
teaching people how to do it, Pastor Paul. It's just another form of the same thing Satan has been doing from the beginning. Seduction. He overcomes, mingles, and then that person is absolutely so messed up, right, that they just turn their back on Christ. It's the same thing over and over again.
All right, Mike, I have a lot more questions, but I'm not going to get them all. So I'm going to save some of these for next week, Lord willing. But I do have one here that I think Chance, that I had on earlier tonight, said, I have a question for Mike. He said, ask him, could the greatest revival in the history of the world happen in 2025? Could it happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'll say this. The heavier times, something is happening already. It is. The worst, and it requires a bad time.
It does. I know.
Think of this. I can only use myself as a reflection of this, but in my personal life, when things got really heavy, it does something. It forces me to lay down those things that no longer work. You know how you can have hope in something that's just not working? It's just not working.
Yes.
And it's taking up time, and you hope for it, and nothing. And then when the calamity hits, that thing, you start to put things down, and you say, okay, Lord, I need you for real. And then at that moment, your life takes this turn you never, ever thought it could take. And that's when the real deal starts, filling you up. That's a revival within itself, because when that happens, it's almost like a disease. It starts to spread to others, because others will look at the person who recovered and say, hey, that person, I want what that person has.
It's contagious.
That's right.
Good things are contagious.
That's right. Because all these people with these lives out there, they'll say, well, my life is, all messed up, and everybody sees it, and they say this. Well, good. Because if they're looking at your life, and it's not what you want it to be, when you're delivered, then that's when they say, I'm going to serve the God that one is serving. She's serving the real deal. She still prayed, but everything was stripped from her. And now she's fully delivered. I want that. They're going to see the real deal.
Amen.
Not to mention some of these ideologies that we hold, when they're proven wrong, and certainly in my life, again, when they're proven wrong, that's when we accept the truth.
That's right.
So long as we have a standing ideology or an idea that we can cling to, we won't hear anything. But once it dies, once it just collapses, then we say, Lord, show me. And then we can accept his truth. That's gonna happen. That will happen.
God's got to break us down sometimes just to get us to hear the truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's happened.
I believe that will happen
time and time again in my own life. That what I thought for sure I knew, then God says, no, I'm going to show you the real truth. The only way I'm going to get you to understand it is I may have to bring you to your knees, but I'll bring you there. If you're seeking me, I'll bring you there. I'll get you to the truth, and then I'll lift you back up. I mean, that's what I love about God.
But it's so liberating.
Oh, it's so liberating.
It sounds bad, right? It sounds awful. Well, why would you want to go through that? Because when that happens, all the weights come off.
Amen.
All the weights come off.
Amen. It really does.
All the weights. It is liberating. It really is. Plus, we live in a time when it's almost like the righteous and these other folks there's going to be a clear separation. There's so many false doctrines in the world that people are now openly experimenting with doctrines. You have a lot of folks that just they have turned away from Christ. They just said no to Christ, but they're being pulled in these groups, right?
They have no protection.
They're being pulled away from the righteous,
right? Because they have no protection.
The righteous are being clearly, that's right, none. And those are the ones where those things in the bottomless pit will come to get. But they're those things from the bottomless pit. They're some things in the bottomless pit. There's some things in the shallow pit. What am I talking about? But that day is coming. But it seems like the righteous, Pastor Paul, are becoming very sincere, very sincere. And it's been a fight. It's really been a fight. But there's a sincerity that's coming that I've not seen before. I mean, a great sincerity that's coming, that's forming, and it's really starting to take hold. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'm with you. I believe the greatest revival that it could be this year, 2025. This could be the year that it just breaks completely loose. And it can, and we should already have enough confidence now that if we pray and come together and pray, God will move mountains. So
He will move it.
Yeah, He said, I will. So we got to keep praying. We got to keep going forward and not just get relaxed and get complacent, but continue to fight in the good
That's
fight
right.
of faith. So, Mike, thank you so much tonight. I mean, you came in here and you took on a million subjects, and you did it again with the clarity to help us all understand just where we're at, what's going on. I feel that heaviness on you about the nuclear situation, the war, the what looks like what could be. It's a dangerous time, and so we've got to pray and not don't listen to all the propaganda out there. Be led by the Spirit. Is that right?
Amen. Amen.
So thank you for coming and being on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. I know we all do.
Pastor Paul, thank you. It's always an honor. Always.
The honor's mine. Believe me. God bless you.
All right.
We'll talk again. God bless.
Okay. God bless.